All right, this has started. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to episode 3 of Dealing with Yourself. I am your host, Danny Till, and just to be clear, that is DANNY silent HILL. And why do I say that? Because I'm tired of people butchering my fucking name. And so usually now when I go do a set, I actually in parentheses say how to pronounce it. And I wanted to start today with a sad news. Of course, anybody who's been on social media or has watched the news tonight knows that at the age of 98 years old, we lost the legendary Carl Reiner. Some of you, especially because I'm 23, almost 24, so I feel like many people my age don't really know who that is. I knew who he was because of two specific movies during my childhood, and that was The Jerk and The Man with Two Brains. Both Steve Martin films. I believe The Jerk was 78, 79, and I remember specifically The Man with Two Brains was 83 because I used to read the case, the back of the cases just for random trivia, like how long the movie was, who's in it, who directed it, who wrote it, and when it came out, etc., etc., etc. But over the years, I really got to experience him as a person through his time on Conan O'Brien, because especially in the last 5 to 6 years, he was just writing book after book after book after book. And for those who have Netflix, I'm assuming everybody here has Netflix. Please go and watch his Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee episode because it's so good. And I feel bad for Mel tonight because Mel Brooks, the legendary Mel Brooks, Young Frankenstein, Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles, etc., 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 that was his best friend. They watched Jeopardy together every night for the last, I would say, 50 years or however long the show's been on the air. I just know that every single night, Mel comes over, they watched television together, and I guess, from what I understand, those nights Mel would come over, they'd eat, Mel would stay until at least, I think, 1, 2, maybe sometimes even 3 o'clock in the morning. And through these interviews on Conan O'Brien, and I love Conan O'Brien specifically because he has these legendary guests like a Carl Reiner and a Mel Brooks and a Bob Newhart. And I just love how he talks with them because, again, these are the guys that he watched during his childhood. And again, I don't know how many people my age watched these iconic dudes when they were kids. No, again, because I remember, when I was a little kid, the big things were Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Toon Disney, and Cartoon Network. Everything else was just, Actually, yeah, the WB. But again, my point is, I also watch a lot of old stuff. It just piqued my interest. And now I'm definitely starting to get into Norman Lear again. And I think that's also particularly because of the Carmichael Show and the influence Norman Lear's work, specifically All in the Family, had on that series. And I love Dick Van Dyke. But again, just going back to Carl Reiner, he was so sharp. He was so fucking funny. And I was just amazed because I think the last time he was on the show on Conan, I think was when he was, I believe, 96 years old. And he was promoting his book, Too Busy to Die. And all this morning, I was trying to find out where the fuck can I find this book. And apparently he has his own... let me look it up for those who are listening and want to find this book. Let me type in this information on my Mac here. Too Busy to Die, Carl Reiner. Okay, yeah, so it's a website called randomcontent.com. Random, RANDOM, CONTENT. It's a hardback, and it's forwarded by Judd Apatow. And also, those who will purchase the book Too Busy to Die, and the cost is $39.99. It's hardcover. And those who will purchase Too Busy to Die will also receive free of charge his book entitled How to Live Forever by SUMWLN. That's the first name. HOOHAZ and Carl Reiner. What does that first name spell? Someone who has. Because this man truly did live forever. And at 95, I remember he came on Conan, and Conan was like, "You are." I think it was, yeah, when he was 95. He was like, "It's always great to see you on here because you're 95 and you're still kicking ass." Because that dude was a badass motherfucker. He was, again, in his 90s, and he was so sharp. He was so funny, and he told this great story about. Let me find out the name really quick here. And again, my apologies for not being as well prepared. I know we'll get into the main topic, but I just want to at least give a few minutes just to tribute this man who I love dearly. I actually wrote him a fan letter not too long ago. I would say 5-6 months ago. It was a lot of questions. I gave him stamps if he wanted to reply back. Yes, it was a joke told to him by the late great George Burns. And George Burns was this entertainer back in I believe the 40s and 50s, and he had this spike in the 80s. Like as he got older, he just got insanely popular. And this is when Carl was 60, and he asked, what is it like? What's life going to be like when he's older? And George Burns, who I think was in his 80s, and he had girls all around him, and this is kind of in the voice of what Carl Reiner was doing. So he had his hand up, and he asked, let me get this here. So he's on of course he's on the chair. He has his hand up, and he's doing the motion. So he said to George, "What do I have to look forward to sexually?" And he said to me, and he has his hand up, "Carl, ever try to put an oyster in a slot machine?" And again, when I heard that joke, I didn't get it. I went on Urban Dictionary. All I say is, "God damn." God damn, man. And then I remember right after that, because Conan was dying laughing, and Carl was shocked that he was allowed to say that, because he was talking about when he was doing Sid Caesar. I believe it was Sid Caesar, and he was saying how, like, when they said "damn," he was like, during a monologue, he's like, actually, yeah, no, he was doing Hamlet. Yeah, he was doing Hamlet, and then during the monologue, he was just saying, "Damn you, damn you, damn you, damn you." And he said, when they did that, the censors pulled that because you couldn't say "damn" back then. The fact that you go from "damn" to, oyster on a slot machine. You want to know the joke? Do you really want to know the joke? It's basically an old dude's dick going into a younger woman's lady bits. God damn, Carl, you smart bastard. And like I said, for those who want to get that book, it's Random, RANDOM, Content, CONTENT, so CONTENT.com. Go on there, you can buy the book. And I'm going to buy that book in the next couple days because I want to get that book. Oh yeah. Oh, so here's what this website is. So it's regarding random content. It says Random Content Inc. is the lasting legacy of Carl Reiner and one of his last gifts to the entertainment industry. A haven for celebrities, artists, and policymakers to share their stories and to solidify their own legacy through print, digital, and social media. And in conjunction with this legacy-building platform, Random Content Inc. has positioned itself as a content creation and media management agency of the future. That's a really beautiful description of the website. So yeah, if you really want to get Carl's book, go to that website. I am definitely going to get it in the next couple weeks. And I'm going to miss this man. I'm going to miss this man so much. And I know he hadn't been on Conan in a little bit, but I just love watching his Conan clips over and over and over and over again. And again, this is crazy because, again, I followed this man on Instagram and Twitter, and it's crazy because, again, I was reading his tweets yesterday. And I was watching his Instagram commercials that he was doing, and it was just, he was 98 and he was kicking ass. And I was just amazed that he passed away this morning. And I just am shocked. I'm still in shock, even though it's been, fucking 13, 14 hours now. He's going to be so missed. And he had an amazing career, and it's crazy also because I bought The Jerk on DVD a few days ago. And in the next couple of days, I'm definitely going to get Dead Man Don't Wear Plaid, which is a beautifully edited, and it's so brilliantly well done. It's a parody on the noir films and these old-fashioned noir movies. These classic noir movies from the 30s are edited together with the movie itself to further along the plot. It's so good. It's a Steve Martin movie that he did with Carl, and Carl directed it, and he's in it, and he co-wrote it. So yeah, definitely recommend The Jerk, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, and The Man with Two Brains. He also directed the movie Summer School with Mark Harmon. And like I said, he created the Dick Van Dyke Show. He started Mary Tyler Moore's career. At 24 years old, Mary Tyler Moore got the lead of that show. And on Conan, he was talking about how... I forget the name of the guy who told him this, but he was saying to the guy who was I think he was head of the network. He was saying he had seen 23 girls that day, Carl had. And he didn't know, because he asked this guy, how will I know when I find the girl? And he said, when you see the girl, you'll know. So I guess Mary had bombed a couple auditions that week, and she was reluctant to come in. And Carl gave her a card with the sides. And for those who don't know, who are not aware of the business, sides are like fake lines that don't really have anything. It's just stuff to work with in an audition. And from what I understand, she said one word, and Carl knew he had found his girl to lead that show. It's a beautifully told story about how he met Mary Tyler Moore and casting her, and then they have a clip. Again, go on YouTube, type in Carl Reiner Conan, and you will find just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful library of just great bits and interviews. And like I said, I'm gonna miss him. He was 98 years old. He lived an amazing life. My heart goes out to Rob, his son, Rob Reiner, the great Rob Reiner, who directed A Few Good Men, Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, etc., etc., etc. And, sorry, I'm just a little choked up here. And again, it's weird. I know some people may find it weird that I'm just so shocked by by the death of this 98-year-old man who probably nobody really know who is, or anybody my age really knows who he is. But again, just because of my sense of humor when I was a kid, I watched this man's work. I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss him very much. Carl, rest in peace. You lived a great fucking life. Oh, another thing too. He almost technically wouldn't have had this career because in World War II, the platoon he was assigned to was getting ready to go somewhere. And this guy, whoever his name was, basically Carl during World War II would go and entertain the troops and act and be a comedian. And this guy asked Carl, "Do you have an act?" He's like, "No, I can." It's like, "All right, we need you on." It's like, I'm going somewhere tomorrow. He's like, "We'll get you out of it. Don't worry about it." You know where that was? His platoon was going to go to Iwo Jima, where so many people didn't come back. And that man probably saved Carl's life. And if Carl had not gotten that opportunity, we probably wouldn't have gotten the Dick Van Dyke Show. We wouldn't have gotten The Jerk, or Summer School, or Man with Two Brains, or Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. And also, as an actor, he is known in the Oceans franchise and the newer ones as Saul Bloom. That's his character's name, right? Saul Bloom? Saul. Yep, Saul Bloom, portrayed by Carl Reiner. And, so that is my little tribute to the late, great Carl Reiner. Carl, I'm going to miss you forever, man. Now, getting into this episode's topic of mental health. On my Instagram, I said this is going to be the topic of episode 3. Episode 2 is relationships. And for those who don't know, I've talked about it. And I talk about it in my stand-up, and I talk about it on this podcast, and I talk about it in general. I have some mental shit I've dealt with. And it's stuff that I deal with almost pretty much every day. Like, it's... and again, I don't have bipolar disorder. I don't have schizophrenia. But I do feel as though I do honestly feel like I have some depression. And I've experienced some very traumatic stuff in my life that has played through in my head over and over and over and over again. And it's like a lot of the same bad memories that play in my head, and it's to the point where like I need to listen to some loud music to drain it out, or just to scream. Like when I'm in my car, I just scream. That's where I just scream, and I get rid of all those bad memories. And if I'm also, another thing too is I work out a lot now, especially, and I haven't worked out as much during the last 3 months because of the gyms being closed. But I have definitely been working out a lot the last 4 days when my gym was open again. I didn't work out today. I was just too tired. But I've been. I do a little bit of cardio. I do pull ups and dips. No, I don't do full on pull ups. I had to have some sort of assistance because I'm a fat guy, and I don't have that much muscle on my arms. And it showed how what not working out for 3 months does to you. The most I leg pressed was 640, right? When I went to the gym, I can barely do 300, and that's insane. Of not doing leg pressing for 3 months, that's what it does to you. It sucks. And especially during this time, when you're not working out and you're trying to just at least get some exercise by just walking, and it happens every once in a while. Like the memories usually play in my head. Like there's a handful of ones that play in my head almost every day, and then there are some that every once in a while it causes me to just be so angry. And like again, there's days where I'm fine. There's some days where I'm happy. Some days where I'm sad. Some days where I'm angry. It's all a mix of emotions. It depends on the day. Like I have my good days, I'm gonna have my bad days, just like everybody else. And I've been looking at some websites like this one called betterhealth.vic.gov.au. Wonder if the AU means Australia. I don't think it is. And on this page that is about types of mental health issues and illnesses. Like there's of course anxiety disorders, which is it's a group of mental health disorders that include generalized anxiety disorders, social phobias, specific phobias like agoraphobia, where you can't go outside, and claustrophobia, where you can't be in confined spaces or small spaces, I believe. Yeah, panic disorders. You have obsessive compulsive disorder (OCD) and post-traumatic stress disorder, which is PTSD. And then untreated anxiety disorders can lead to significant impairment on people's daily lives. And obviously, I'm not trying to make you guys tell me anything because obviously, if you have your shit that you deal with, that's your business. You don't need to go in the comments and say, "Hey, I deal with this, and this," if you don't feel comfortable doing so. But I talk about how because like again, I dealt with shit with my dad. I dealt with some bullying a lot of my life. Especially in 8th grade. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but to me, 8th grade is the worst year of your life. It just truly, truly is the worst year of your life. And in that year, something can happen. Like, especially, like, you're starting to go through puberty. And, you have all these feelings. And then on top of that, like, you may meet a girl. Or in a girl's case, you may meet a guy or whatever. You meet somebody that you like, right? And they don't like you back. And then and then on top of that, in 8th grade, I got social media I got Facebook because everybody was having Facebook. And I know Facebook had been around since I think 2006, but at the same time, I didn't get it until 2011. Then rumors started going around the school and other shit, and it just led to me just being very unhappy. And then plus all the shit I was dealing with, it just made my head really fucked up. And and then here's another one where it's like behavioral and emotional disorders in children. Okay, so they are spelling behavioral disorders. I believe in the United States where I'm at, it's behavioral, but here it's behavioral. So behavioral and emotional disorders in children. And some common behavior disorders in children include oppositional defiant disorder. I don't know what that is. Conduct disorder. I'm guessing that has something to do with authority. I don't know. And attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, where you can't focus and your brain is bouncing all across the walls. And then they talk about some treatments for this mental health disorders. They include therapy, education, and medication. Of course, meds can help, suppress it or at least not it be as big as it maybe is. But at the same time, some people who are dealing with mental health issues don't like themselves, don't like how they feel when they're on medication. And like medication is supposed to fix you, but at the same time, in my opinion, I just feel like it doesn't fix you, but rather it just tries to suppress what you were going through. And then I feel like eventually all of that suppression leads to you just not feeling yourself, and you feel it worse. And I was and I've never been on meds. The closest thing I have gotten to, with regards to help, was I went to a therapist a handful of times, and they me and my sister both did, and then our therapists told our mom, like, hey, your kids are fine. Uh, Sorry, it's doing my social media at the same time. I'm almost done, folks. All right, that's done. All right, so back to medication. Again, I don't take medication. Luckily, I've never had to. And again, for those who do have medication, there's nothing wrong with it. But I just luckily, I don't have some of the issues that a lot of people deal with, and it must. I don't understand what it's like to deal with such severe mental health issues, but I'm guessing it sucks. Like the two people I could think of in regards to mental health that come to mind are Pete Davidson and also Machine Gun Kelly, and then other celebrities like Zachary Levi and Taraji P. Henson has been open. Gary Goldman did an entire HBO special, and again, sorry to bring up Conan again, but he did a wonderful Conan interview where he talked about how he was feeling and how he got help and what it was like to be in one of those institutions and his fear of it being like one who flew over the cuckoo's nest. And also Chris Gethard is very open about it. He did a really well done HBO special. It was his one man series, was his one man show that was taped. It was executive produced by Judd Apatow, and it was on HBO. It was very honest. It was very real. It was very raw. And of course, Patton Oswalt has been known that he deals with it. I really do praise many celebrities who are open with it, because in many ways, I feel like when there's celebrities out there that maybe people who identify with and they admit, hey, I deal with these issues, and maybe people probably in the middle of nowhere who idolize them maybe feel like, hey, if they feel the same way that I do, maybe that's okay. Maybe that kind of brings some sort of a normalcy to it. And and again, if you have therapists, that's great. A lot of people suggest having therapists. I will definitely have one later on in life. So like once I'm working in the industry and I'm doing my thing, I'll definitely need to just have one, because I know that while I deal with some issues now, I just feel like once I start working, and hypothetically, if I become famous right away, I just feel like that'll probably get to my head, and I'll just need somebody to talk to. So I'll definitely get one just to talk to in my mid to late 20s, probably early 30s. Whenever it happens, I'll definitely get one. And again, there's nothing wrong with just having somebody to talk to. And it's not like I don't have people to talk to, but at the same time, I don't want to bother some people, friends of mine or whoever, just with my problems, because again, it's not their problem, it's my problem, it's not theirs. And then another section about it is the bipolar affective disorder, where it's bipolar affective disorder is a type of mood disorder previously referred to as manic depression. Oh boy. A person with a bipolar disorder experiences episodes of mania, parentheses, elation, and depression. This person may or may not experience psychotic symptoms. The exact cause is unknown. I feel like a lot of these mental health issues are not. Well, obviously some have found out causes, but at least I imagine there's a decent amount that they can't find the cause of it yet. Anyway, they're saying the exact cause is unknown, but a genetic predisposition has been clearly established, environmental stressors can also trigger episodes of the mental illness. That last sentence definitely much so. I mean, not to make it about me again, but in my case, like, of course, of course, your environment can cause you to trigger some emotions or memories. I mean, like what I was dealing with for, I would say, let's see, he passed away in 2013, so let's say specifically the last 5 years on Fridays and Saturdays and Fridays and Saturdays, because my dad works swing. My dad works swing shift, so I didn't really see him that much until the weekend. And again, like until I moved to the county, when we were all living in the Bay, because my mom and my dad separated back in 2005. So when I was a second grader, so that all through that year of second grade, my parents were separated. Me and my mom and my sister had an apartment in San Bruno. I think it was like 15 minutes away from the house or some shit like that. And I didn't really know much about it then, but then like I feel like as you get older, you become more aware of what's going on around you. And as I got older, I got to really see some shit and understand what happens when you have too much tequila, too much Corona, too much Bud Light, and you really see an entirely different person come about, and it's maybe to the point where like they don't even remember what they did the previous night. And I remember every once in a while I would say to my dad, because again, he was being a dick, so I would just be like, hey, you're a fucking dick. He's like, hey, you don't be a dick. I'm like, you were a dick. And then it was a lot of just back and forth. And I was telling him all this shit, and he's like, I was telling him all the stuff that he did to me. He's like, you're full of shit. Because he was too fucking drunk to remember. He was too fucking drunk to remember this shit that he did. Now, it wasn't like serious stuff. I was never, like severely abused, But again, like, he still verbally abused me. He still, he verbally abused me a lot. And then he hit me like when he was really, really drunk. And then, of course, some stuff that he said still plays in my head. I know he's been dead for 7 years, and I know I should definitely get on with it, but I don't know. It's just I feel like something in my life will just automatically change all of that. I'm not saying it'll happen because I talked about how in my previous episode I don't want kids, but let's just say hypothetically if I did have a kid, I do feel like if I ever do have a child, like that part of my brain will just go away. I'm not saying it's depressed. I'm not saying it'll be suppressed away. But maybe, like once let's say hypothetically, me and a girl, get married or whatever, and we have a kid, and she becomes pregnant, and a part of me obviously is going to be scared because, obviously, because I don't want any mental health issues that I deal with to be passed on to the kid. I'm calling it the kid because, again, this is a hypothetical situation, so I don't know if it's like a boy or a girl or whatnot. But again, let's just saying, hey, I get a girl pregnant, and it's somebody that I'm probably with, and I've been with for a while now, and obviously, she's probably very excited, I'm nervous, and then she'll probably say, why? And I'm like, well, because I obviously would have told her what I dealt with, and then she'll probably go, Danny, you're not your dad, blah, 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 blah. And obviously, of course, I would never, because again, I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke anymore. Yeah, believe it or not, I used to smoke cigarettes. It was not a serious smoking habit. Like, for example, one pack for me would last like a month. So that was like my form of smoking. Obviously, some people definitely had to smoke at least once a day minimum. Luckily, I was not one of those people. But back to what I was saying about having a kid and how my proposed wife, girlfriend, fiance, whatever, which my significant other, she would be saying about how, Danny, you're not your dad. And I know, but I'm scared about fucking up. And then, but then again, no parent is perfect. Parents mess up. Parents fuck up every once in a while. Sorry, but it's true. Probably one of the best examples of that was, do you remember the movie Kramer versus Kramer? It had Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep. And of course, in the beginning, it's how the parents separate. Meryl Streep leaves. The kid is with Dustin Hoffman. At first, they don't get along. He acts out. He wishes his mom was there. But after his son, falls on a playground and has to get stitches in his eye, and you see Dustin Hoffman carrying the kid in his arms, and he's sprinting towards the hospital, it shows, like, right after that, he starts to really go towards his dad. And once the mom comes back, you see how much the son loves his dad and doesn't want him to go because he wants to be there every morning to have breakfast with him. And then, of course, Meryl Streep at the end gives the kid back and says, my son is home. This is his home. And again, I'm not saying this just to be like, hey, it happened. It worked out in the movies. Maybe it'll happen in real life. And I'm just saying as an example of, hey, you know what? You may have had a childhood that is different. Like in my case, I had a childhood that sucked. I had a parent that wasn't great to me. I also had a brother that I didn't get along with. And if you're wondering, I have a half brother. I haven't seen him in 7 years. And then he'll maybe try to reach out. Let's say hypothetically, he'll probably reach out to me like once I become famous and at least start working in the business. And for those who are wondering what that sound was, I just slapped my leg. Sorry. But yeah, what I was saying was, I hope if I do have a kid, I just don't want to mess him up. I hope I never will do that. And I hope that hopefully I will be a loving parent. I know I will be. And then plus I'm very childlike, and I feel like I won't grow out of that. The only thing that would suck is, hypothetically, if I do have a kid, and I talked about it in the previous episode, is like if I have all these toys and I would never let my son or daughter touch them. And but anyway, back to the list here. And then, of course, on the next on the list, after bipolar affective disorder, you have depression. They say it's a mood disorder characterized by lowering of mood, loss of interest and enjoyment, and reduced energy. It's not just feeling sad. There are different types and symptoms of depression. There are varying levels of severity and symptoms related to depression. Symptoms of depression lead to an increased risk of suicidal thoughts or behaviors. Very true. It's very, 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 very true. Again, when I was going all through that shit, and I was in middle school, I did have those thoughts in my head. It sucked. It really sucked. To have those thoughts in your head when you're 14. And I mean, like, we had a show that just ended on Netflix. I talked about it on my channel, how it was a show that talked about depression and suicide and all these things. And again, the show in quality-wise got worse over time. But again, I praise a show for being about this subject matter and being in 190 countries. And in 19, 20 languages, whatever it is. And, I deal with it, and like I said, I have my good days and my bad days. There are some days where I'm like, all right, let's get going, and then there are just some days where and it's not because of laziness. I just don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to leave the house. I just want to just stay. And sometimes, like if I turn on the TV, I don't really feel like watching TV. And if I want to try to read a book, I can't really read a book. Some days I just need to just sit in my bed and just lay there, rest my head on the pillow, and just think every once in a while. And and I used to have all this obsessive interests about these things, and honestly, some of them are still there. Some of them are lowered in passion. Some of them are just gone. And I really do appreciate the highlight here that the main sentence that sticks out to me is, it is not just feeling sad. There were days where you could be so happy, but in the back of your head, there's still this not a ringing, but this feeling in the back of your head on the happiest day possible that something is just not feeling right. Next one on here is dissociation and dissociative disorders. Dissociation is a mental process where a person disconnects from their thoughts, feelings, memories, or sense of identity. Dissociative disorders include dissociative amnesia, dissociative FUGUE, I'm guessing that's fugue, depersonalization disorder, and dissociative identity disorder. And of course, for anybody who's wondering, on the betterhealth.vic.gov.au, when they talk about each disorder, there is more information. So if you are listening to this and do feel as though you are experiencing some symptoms of any mental health illness, I would say this article that I'm reading, this webpage that I'm reading where it has all this information and it says for more information, click this, and this, I say definitely come on this website, and I will repeat that. Better, BETTER, health, HEALTH, vic.gov.au. And so and again, I know I've said that a couple times now, but I just feel like it's very important for me to just make that as clear as possible. And some of these I really just don't know. Like the dissociation and dissociative disorders, I don't know much about that. And those who are maybe dealing with those, the website says for more information, see this. So if you want, you can click that. Another one is, of course, eating disorders. Eating disorders include anorexia, bulimia, neurosis, and other binge eating disorders. Eating disorders affect females and males and can have serious psychological and physical consequences. Duh. I'm another example of that. It wasn't to the point where I was getting like 300 pounds or 400 pounds. Because some people who truly do have eating disorders, like binge eating, can get very big, or they can get so small they look like a breathing skeleton. In my case, I just would go into the kitchen and just eat random shit. I remember one time when I was a kid, I would literally I was having just such an angry day. I literally went and ate. And I opened a box of Betty Crocker cake mix. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I literally, when I was like 10, I had such a bad day. I had such a fucked up bad day. I went in there. I opened a bag of Betty Crocker cake mix, and I was just eating the powder. That's awful. It's terrible. For a 10-year-old to have such a fucked up day that you have to go and eat Betty Crocker vanilla cake mix or yellow cake mix. Sorry. I don't know why the details are important, but I just felt like correcting myself. So when you are dealing with that much of a problem, it just shows something about you is not okay. And I know that like sometimes I make myself stop eating, and my mom tells me food is good, all food is good. I'm like, not really. Sorry, but it's not true. I know food is good, like you need to eat, but at the same time, like you need to, like some people like truly have an issue. I had an issue, so now I used to fast. I remember all of last October for Sober October, and again, I was already sober, but I know that was like because of the Joe Rogan podcast and like Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. Like that month is now known as, hey, get fit. So I did 16-hour fasts for 31 days. And I dropped 7 pounds. My eating habit changed completely. Like, after doing the fasting for 31 days, I just became an entirely new different person in regards to how I ate. Like, I wasn't hungry all the time. I didn't have to do this, this, and this. I just ate when I felt hungry, and I didn't eat anymore. And that's good. It means you're getting better. And then, of course, for those, some feel so like they need to keep a certain figure that they don't eat at all. That is when that's a problem. There's fasting, and then there's just I don't want to eat because I'm afraid of my figure. I really recommend for anybody who's feeling that way, you're beautiful the way you are. Don't need to change. And for those who are dealing with an eating disorder and they are gaining weight and they truly do know they have a problem, I recommend for anybody who is dealing with an eating disorder, whether it's eating too much or eating nothing, get psychological help. See a therapist. Do something. And and then for those who know that they have an eating problem and they want to figure out how to do it, just go for a walk. Walk around the block. Walk for 25, 30 minutes. That's all you need to do. Is just start simple. And this is not in everybody's case, but just like lay down. Just put down the soda, put down the ice cream, put down the cookies, put down the fast food. Just put it down. Fill up a water bottle. Put on some tennis shoes. Wear some comfortable clothing and just walk around the blocks. Do just 30 minutes a day. It may not seem like a lot, but trust me, you will feel a lot better. And those are my 2 cents on that. And the next one on here is obsessive compulsive disorder. It says that obsessive compulsive disorder, also known as OCD, and that it's an anxiety disorder. Obsessions are recurrent thoughts, images, or impulses that are intrusive and unwanted. Compulsions are time-consuming and distressing repetitive rituals. Treatment include cognitive behavior therapy, also known as CBT, and medication. For those who are dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder, this is my apologies. I don't know much about this illness or this issue that you're dealing with. I need to stop calling it an illness. I know it's something that you deal with, but it feels weird to say it's an illness. I don't know if it's and again, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I just don't know what to exactly call it. Let's just say anybody who's dealing with this disorder. Is that better? To me, OCD is like, and again, please, if I'm wrong, comment. Like, what for those who are dealing with OCD, what are you have to do? Because to me, OCD in my head, I immediately think everything has to be organized, everything has to be alphabetized, everything has to be a certain way. Otherwise, if one thing goes wrong, your whole mind just goes into pandemonium. And maybe that's a broad explanation of what or thinking of what that is. If that is, my apologies. I would love for those who feel brave enough or comfortable enough talking about their issues with OCD, please comment below. Tell me, what is it that you deal with? And like I said, on this website, for more information, you can click on the links, or click on the names, rather. The next one is paranoia. Paranoia is the irrational and persistent feeling that people are out to get you. Paranoia may be a symptom of conditions including paranoid personality disorder, delusional (paranoid disorder), and schizophrenia. Treatment for paranoia includes medication and psychological support. Paranoia. I don't necessarily deal with paranoia, but last year my car got broken into, my backpack got stolen, my textbooks were stolen, my Giants hat that got stolen. And again, like for like a Giants hat, like a baseball hat doesn't seem like a big deal, but the Giants hats are, like Major League Baseball hats, they're expensive. That was a $35 hat. Then also in the backpack, my textbooks, everything. And so because of that, I check to make sure everything is locked up. I check to make sure stuff is things are a certain way. I check to make sure. It's just I'm worried of something happening in the night. Like I literally have to, because again, like I have no problems with my fridge, but I have this thing where the fridge, I'm worried if the fridge opens and lets out the cold, everything else. So I push the doors a handful of times to make sure they're closed, even though they already are. And then also the door is locked. The door, even the door, like the, on a door lock where you twist it to the right, and it's locked. But like when I do it, I check it like 5 to 6 times before I go to bed, and it hasn't moved. I just twist it a little bit more to make sure that it's like locked. It's already locked. I just twist it more, even though it doesn't move. And I know that probably doesn't do anything, but that just feels like, all right, I have checked it. It is locked. And I don't have a feeling that people are out to get you, but after the Snowden thing, I'm just very conscientious about, my phone and the camera. Post-traumatic stress disorder, that's the next one. Also known as PTSD in abbreviation, it's a mental health condition that can develop as a response to people who have experienced any traumatic event. It could be a car or any other serious accident, physical or sexual assault, war-related events or torture, or natural disasters like bushfires or floods. And of course, I feel like for many, when we think of PTSD, we think to war veterans because they see action over there and they're in action and it messes with their brain. And they can be in a normal situation and then they just can't be fine. And it's almost as if they're reliving an event in their head and they think that they're there. Now, I don't think I really have PTSD. I don't know if I do or not. I know that Shia LaBeouf was diagnosed with it after Because I'm sure some of you have seen the Amazon movie Honey Boy. That is his real recollection of his childhood. And when he was going through some shit, he was told, "Hey, you got PTSD." And I guess he was facing years in jail or go to rehab and get help. Went to rehab, got help, and it was revealed, "Hey, you have PTSD, and you need to help yourself. You need to help yourself." So he just started writing shit down. And when my dad, this is like right after my dad passed away, I would be laying in bed in a ball, and I would be sweating. My shirt would be sweating. And I don't know. It wasn't hot, but it was just, I don't know. Maybe I wanted to be protected by the blanket or something. I don't know. I just remember specifically under the blankets, curled up in a ball, crying, and just saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to." And again, there was nobody in the room. There was nobody else in my room. It was just me under blankets at night. And this wasn't every night, but it was a couple nights after my dad passed away. And again, like, it was like, the reason why I was saying that is because stuff was playing in my head again. And for those who really do, who are actually dealing with it, I would love to know, like, how do you deal with it? Like, obviously, therapy is a good form of it. It's a good way to help. Is there things you do, like exercise or painting, or just like, what do you do to help it? If you do feel like talking, comment. If not, then you know what, you don't have to. You really don't have to. Like, I'm doing this on a podcast where my YouTube channel has, I think, 15 subscribers, and the last episode was viewed, I think, like 7 times, and the previous episode, which was the pilot or premiere episode, was, I think, viewed 17 times. That is 1-7. You really don't have to comment if you don't have to. I mean, like, again, it's a podcast that's on the 3rd episode, and nobody knows who the fuck I am. But if you do feel like commenting, you can. I'll respond. It'll be a nice conversation. If not, you don't have to. Another one on here is psychosis. They say that people affected by psychosis can experience delusions, hallucinations, and confused thinking. It can occur in a number of mental illnesses, including drug-induced psychosis, schizophrenia, and mood disorders. Medication and psychological support can relieve or even eliminate psychotic symptoms. I don't know much about this one, and I know I took psychology in high school, but I don't remember much about it. I know specifically talking about, like, I remember in psychology I was talking about the shit that I dealt with, and I don't remember what was the prelude to that, but I just remember, like, opening up about that shit. And I remember I think I was talking about how when that shit was happening to me, like, when I was getting, like, one night I was getting kicked. I was getting kicked in the chest hard because he had steel-toed boots on. And for some reason, I was laughing, and then he's looking at me like, "Why are you laughing?" And then immediately, like, a classmate of mine hugged me, and everybody's applauding. I'm like, I don't need a fucking hug. I don't need any of that. Like she literally was like, she said, "Do you need a hug?" And I'm like, "Not really, but sure, okay." And again, like, I don't like saying, "Oh, I have a bad childhood. Feel sorry for me." Blah 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 blah. It's not that. It's just like, hey, I didn't tell anybody about what I was going through for years. When he was alive, I didn't really tell anybody what I was going through. And because of that, I talk about it a lot more now. I talk about it in my stand-up. I talk about it here. I talk about it a lot. Because it's shit that plays in my head every day. And if you are dealing with psychosis, like I've said about the PTSD and all these other disorders, if you do feel like commenting and saying how you deal with it, or do you know what caused it? If you feel like talking, you can comment below. If not, that's fine. And like I said previously on the website, for more information, you can click the bolded title. The last one on here is one that I don't know anything about. I just know that the Jake Lloyd, who played young Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace, has it. It is called schizophrenia. SCHIZOPHRENIA. They say that schizophrenia is a complex psychotic disorder characterized by disruptions to thinking and emotions and a distorted perception of reality. Symptoms of schizophrenia vary widely, but may include hallucinations, delusions, thought disorders, social withdrawal, lack of motivation, and impaired thinking and memory. People with schizophrenia have a high risk of suicide. Schizophrenia is not a split personality. And like I said, like all of them, they had the for more information, click the bolded. And I remember us talking about this in psychology class in high school, but like I said, I don't remember much from that class. It's been 6 years. And again, I don't know much about this. If you feel like commenting, you can. If not, that's okay. I know I've said that a lot, but it's just because, again, not everybody deals with the same mental health issues. Not everybody has PTSD. Not everybody has schizophrenia. Not everybody has depression. Like, it's all different. We're all different. Some of us may deal with the same issues, but at the same time, we're not all the same people. We deal with it in different ways. We get it in different ways. We are diagnosed with it because we have different causes of it. But for those who are probably in a support group, I'm sure, because I know there are probably support groups out there. And if you're in one, great. Maybe it helps. Does it help? If you, like I said, if you like commenting, go ahead. If not, that's fine. And that's it for them on this post here. Some other topics about this are like mental health services explained, getting help, diagnosis, referral, treatment of mental illnesses, specialist services, hospitals, clinics, or residential care, helping someone else, living with it, or living with mental illness, my apologies, rights, responsibilities, and mental health law. I don't know what that is. I should look into that. I'm sure, like I said, I know it probably doesn't affect me, but I'm just curious. And then some related information, that's a whole other column. It's mental health services, and that there are a mix of public and private services in place to help people living with mental illness in Victoria. So this is Australia. Referral and access to mental health services. If you are experiencing unusual or disturbing thoughts, feelings, or behavior, there are mental health services to help you. Another one is assessments and evaluations for mental illness treatment. Your local doctor can conduct an initial health assessment and may refer you to a counselor, psychologist, or psychiatrist depending on your needs. Mental health treatment planning. Thinking about and documenting how you would like your treatment and recovery from mental illness to work can help you become more involved in your healthcare. So maybe talking about your experiences can help you maybe discover something new ways to deal with it, new ways to help others. Early signs and intervention with mental illness. Getting help early can reduce the severity of symptoms and the impact on people's daily lives. Very true. Very true. And so went through that, give some explanations, talk about how I relate to some of these, some of them I really don't. Sorry, chugging some zero sugar lemon lime Gatorade. Have you had the zero sugar thirst quencher Gatorade? The lemon lime flavor? To me, that's the only one that really is good as the zero one. Everyone else, you have to have all that fucking sugar in it because otherwise it just tastes weird. Oh, and it says that this page has been produced in consultation with and approved by the Better Health Channel, and it was last updated though on September 2015. So it's been almost 5 years since it was updated. But it says that the content on this website is provided for information purposes only. Information about a therapy, service, product, or treatment does not in any way endorse or support such therapy, service, product, or treatment, and is not intended to replace advice from your doctor or other registered health professional. The information and materials contained on this website are not intended to constitute a comprehensive guide concerning all aspects of the therapy, product, or treatment described on the website. All users are urged to always seek advice from a registered healthcare professional for diagnosis and answers to their medical questions, and to ascertain whether the particular therapy, service, product, or treatment described on the website is suitable in their circumstances. That's true, because again, like you can't self-diagnose yourself. You need to. You probably tell a doctor. You can notice, hey, I'm feeling this way, and I know that's not normal. Go to the doctor. Get help. You need to get. If you are feeling like you are feeling not necessarily normal than you usually are, get help. And then later on it says, State of Victoria and Department of Health and Human Services shall not bear any liability for reliance on by any user on the materials contained on the website. It's true. Like again, you need to get the facts from the professionals, not somebody commenting in a post. And wow, it's been 55 minutes, coming up on an hour. I'm starting to do these hour-long. I'm starting to get to an hour-long episodes now. That first one I think was like 47 minutes. I did a live stream as a test to see if I can just do it. I think I did it for 50 minutes. And I have about 4 minutes left on this thing. I'm just gonna talk a little bit more, and then we'll be done. And like I said, this is a website that hasn't been updated in 4.5 years. But I just thought, hey, this is a solid. It's a solid information on it. And one thing I will say, though, it's always good to talk to somebody, whether it's a friend or a teacher, especially. You know what? I had one of those. I didn't have my psychology teacher, Miss Thomas, but I had my cinema studies / English / yearbook teacher, Lisa Stecker. She is one of my favorite people on the planet. She is the best teacher I ever had. I was her teacher's aide for cinema studies for my junior and senior year of high school. She is one of the best people on the planet. And my psychology teacher from high school, Miss Thomas. Lori, if you are listening to this, thank you for teaching the psychology class. And I honestly don't think I would have been as open in later on in life that I had not opened up in that class. And I know it was only one time that I opened up, but it kind of helped me open up a lot more. Because I remember in my senior year of high school, we were doing this shield thing for English. And we were doing like these symbols and what they mean to us. Because I think we were talking about like Shakespeare or something. And we did this Macbeth type shield that have all these symbols on it. And I went into detail about the stuff that I dealt with. And some people were like, Jesus. But, you know what? I appreciate the fact that I was so open. Because, I do think it's good that I'm open. Sometimes it sucks that I am just so me. Because, I'm going to be honest, sometimes I don't really like myself. I feel like I know that I'm not... I truly do feel as though sometimes I'm not great. I know that sometimes I'm not great to be around. And I know people say, hey, if you want to talk, I'm always here. And I say that to people because I've been in my situation where I had really nobody to talk to about things. So I always tell people, hey, if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. But in regards to people saying that to me, I can't do it. Because I don't want people to have to worry about my problems because it's not their problem. It's mine. It's not theirs. Maybe that's weird to think like that. Maybe like it's like, no, they're your. If somebody's asking for you to say, if somebody's telling you, hey, I'm here for you, that means like that's a friend. Maybe I'm a bad friend. Maybe that I'm not open. I don't know. I just know that I don't want to. I don't people because in my head I think that whenever somebody says I'm here for you, at least to me, they don't mean it. When I say it to people, I know I mean it. But I feel like when people say it to me, they don't mean it. To me, it just feels like they're just, like, in my cases, I always feel as though they're just saying it to be nice. Because, again, like, if somebody randomly tells you, whether it's a classmate or something, or a coworker, hey, I deal with some shit, you have no choice but to say in that moment, either you say I'm here for you, or you say you should get some help. But, yeah, I always say it. When I say it, I mean it. And every once in a while though, when people say I'm glad you're here, a part of me in the back of my head thinks they don't mean it. They're just saying it because of the situation in the moment, and they're just trying to be nice. No, I don't think people have ever wished that I was dead. I know that during a lot of the drama that was happening in middle school, the people were telling me to go kill yourself because somebody copied my Facebook. Some people, a lot of people thought it was me, so it was a lot of like, "Fuck you, Danny. You're a piece of shit, Danny. Go." And then I remember this from like heart to like, "Go kill yourself, Danny. Slit your wrist, Danny." Blah 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 blah. And that fucked with my head a lot, and nobody really knew what was happening. Like luckily my mom didn't know because otherwise she'd be like, "You need to get off the computer." And because I remember like one time, this is like freshman year, summer after freshman year, and because again I was stuck at home. We lived in Pioneer, so that's like at the top of Amador County. And I posted a video on YouTube or on my Facebook where I was just like singing, "I'm so very bored." And then she comes in saying, "You're off the computer. You look like you're on drugs." And I'm in my head. I was like, "Well, but like the computer. It's 2012. The computer had a crappy camera. Maybe that's why." I don't know. I just know that I wasn't gonna tell my mom, "Hey, somebody's tagged into my profile and they're saying all this shit," because again, like, she would have taken me off completely. And I will say though, like, because this year I deleted my Instagram and I didn't delete my accounts, but I deleted the apps off my phone. I deleted them off my phone, and I thought, hey, this will help me feel a lot better. But when the pandemic happened and you are cut off from isolating or interacting with anybody, you really just feel alone. Because I only had like one person really to talk to that wasn't, my mom or my sister, and in the back of my head, I'm just like, he doesn't want to hear from me all the time. I know, and when he says, like when somebody tags me, text right back, but at the same time, I just don't want to bother him. And when I came back, because I was initially going to delete it again because I said I'm going to come back and I'm going to have a new body, but at the same time, I didn't have it because the gym's closed. And I said I was going to delete it until I came back, but then I said, hey, does that make me a coward or a hypocrite if I decide to stay on? They're like, no, nobody cares. Probably don't. But another reason why I stayed on is because I'm unhappy. I'm bored. I'm alone. And I don't know why. I don't know why I constantly have the need to be on social media all the time. But I don't know. I like posting stupid videos, stupid bits on Snapchat. Do some of those on Instagram too. On Instagram, I give a daily recommendation of the day because I'm such a film guy. But now, do people actually take note of them? Probably not, because at least I know in my sister's case, she just like swipes through my story. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's my sister. Who cares? And probably a lot of other people are like that too with me. Because again, like, I'm not a very popular person. Like, I'm not basing it off followers. It's just like, I didn't really have friends really in middle school or high school. Like, I had classmates, and some people were kind of like my friend, but at the same time, like, I didn't really have friends. And that's also on me too, because I was, very like I isolated myself from everybody because I had this guard up. And also I had this feeling in my head, like, I want people to hate me. That way nobody really worries about me. And this weird thing I think about sometimes is, like, hypothetically, like, if I were to die, let's say, like, I'm not saying this would happen. Let's just say hypothetically I'm 24 now. Let's just say hypothetically I die when I'm 25 or 26 or whatever. I'm just saying hypothetical sense. What would people's reaction be? In my head, I think that for a second they'd be like, "Oh shit, that sucks." All right, moving on. Well, that's just because that's kind of what it's like for a lot of people. I think I blame social media and Instagram culture. I know Instagram is just one of the apps. I do feel like saying Instagram culture as its own section, because I think really because of Instagram, like, we now have this thing of, all right, we talk about something for 24 hours and then it's done. I think that's because of the stories. And I blame a lot of these celebrities also for just, saying all this shit and then the next day just be like, all right, done, next. And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's my perception. But I just feel like that's prevalent in a lot of the cases. And good God, I'm looking at myself in the Snapchat camera, and I just like, holy fuck, I look so fucking fat. I'm also wearing a big shirt, so maybe that's why. And as I'm wrapping this up, I do feel as like if you do feel like you are dealing with some stuff and you don't feel comfortable talking with, a normal person, ask for, talk to a teacher. Definitely start with a teacher. And not just a random teacher, a teacher that you trust. In my case, like a Mrs. Stecker or a Miss Thomas. Somebody you can trust. Start there. Just talk to them. Say, hey, do you got 5 minutes? Because I know that usually therapists are like an hour, but you know what? Talking to somebody for 5 minutes can make more of an impact than many would believe. Because 5 minutes is still 5 minutes. That is 300 seconds dedicated to you and another person just talking. And you know what? Maybe that will make the biggest difference in somebody's life. Maybe somebody comes up to you and says, hey, do you got 5 minutes to talk? Give them the 5 minutes. Because you know what? Later in life, they'll probably thank you for saying, hey, thank you for talking to me a handful of times for just 5 minutes. Just those 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you for those 5 minutes. And you know what? I really do believe that. I really do believe just 5 minutes can make an impact. And like I said, as I'm wrapping this up, if you do feel like you're dealing with some stuff, talk to somebody, talk to a teacher, talk to a therapist, doctor, whatever. Just talk to somebody. And you know what? I'm gonna wrap this up now. It's been an hour and 6 minutes. I did a nice little tribute to Carl Reiner. I'm gonna miss that man very much. And I hope you didn't mind listening to me talk for about an hour and almost 7 minutes. So like I said, comment below if you feel like talking. What you think of the episode. Give it a like if you want. Subscribe. And that's that. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your day or night whenever you're listening to this podcast. I'm your host, Danny Till, and this has been episode 3 of Dealing with Yourself. Bye-bye.